Yeah, a big couple of weeks, boys. I'll start with you, Luke, if I can. You've had a week or two now to digest the decision of retirement. What's the overriding emotion or feeling with your decision?
Oh, mate, probably the 2 weeks leading up to the announcement was big. It was probably the most emotional couple of weeks I've had in a long time. And then I think when you make the decision, there's a bit of relief. But now it's just pure excitement about playing another game, being able to be involved in his last game, and that's always been the most enjoyable thing for football about me, is playing in special games with your mates, and to do it one last time would be good fun. But there's been some watery eyes on the way home here and there from training too, thinking about the journey that's been. But we'll get plenty of time to reflect at the end of the season, but looking forward to having another crack next week.
Well, it is an emotional game. I do love the emotional side of it. Have you sought out anyone's counsel in coming to the decision?
Yeah, I did. I think throughout your career you find blokes you can lean on for big decisions. So Bung's been one. JK was always a good one for me. Got to speak to your family about these things as well. My wife was trying to twist my arm even on the way into the press conference, I think, last week. So I think when I had all those conversations and by the end of it still felt I probably wanted to pull the pin, I knew the decision was the right one. But I sit here content and extremely grateful for all the luck that's come my way over the 15 years.
What about you, Bunga? You two have had a week or two to digest it. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, similar to Luke, what you spoke about. For me, it was a bit more throughout the year, been thinking about it a little bit more. Always loved playing footy, and just you try to play it like it's your last season anyway. But probably got to halfway through the year and thought, yeah, that's it. The body just can't quite do what it used to be able to do. Bit longer to recover, and that was my decision making. And then, having made that decision, it was probably took more. When I say an emotional toll, is a couple of days afterwards. It's just all the well wishes, and you reminisce, and people getting in touch with you. That was one of the things that I thought be able to handle all right. But same thing, you get a bit emotional about a couple of things, and it's a great time. But it was nice to be able to have some footy to go back and train at.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Shannon, the last match against Adelaide, from where I see it, you're not a big one for a massive send-off. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, well, it's actually great. Can share with Luke, and Nick's done the same thing as well now. So, I understand. We saw some greats of the game when I first came to the club here in 2006, and like Coxie, Glassy, Pritter, even like those type of blokes. So JK last year. So it's nice to be able to share in those games, and you can see it all. But I've always loved playing footy for the team aspect. So for me, it's brilliant that I can share it with a couple of blokes.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a big build-up and the emotional side of it, but an opportunity for everybody to get there and send you guys off. Luke, you're looking forward to it?
I am, mate. Yeah. I think the emotion after the game will probably be a bit different to what it is pre-game. I think once we finish playing, the realisation of no more footy will hit. As Bung touched on at the moment, there's still the excitement around playing another game. So try and prepare as normal as we can. There'll probably be a little bit going on, but just looking forward to having another crack, and I'm sure we'll try and embrace and make sure we soak it all up, knowing it's the last time. Not a lot of guys get the opportunity to play their last game knowing it's their last game. So I feel very grateful to be able to do that.
So once the game has finished and you fulfil your last formal obligation at the footy club, is there anything that you guys are, what's the first thing you guys are looking forward to doing or places to visit? Have you got something in mind that you're hanging out for?
I love going in the country, so I'll look at doing some fishing, I reckon, for a bit. A few of the all the meetings and still requests that you have, they'd be nice to delete off the phone. So I'll look forward to doing that. But I think I certainly miss it. But it would just be nice to be able to probably get your own schedule, in order. So you got to train and do all that type of stuff, but you'll be able to pick and choose when you can do that. So a bit more of the freedom, I reckon, will be brilliant.
Luke?
Oh, mate, I'm looking forward to catching up with guys who I've played with across the journey. I'll get a chance at some stage to have a beer with Coxie and Adam Selwood and Matty Rose, the guys who I don't play with anymore, but it played a big role in my journey, and obviously current teammates as well. And like any year, you sit down at the end of the year and have a beer and reflect, but this year will probably be a bit more special. I'd say we'll catch up and talk about the good times. A few of those boys don't mind sledging, so I'll be grounded pretty quickly, I think. But I think all the things you sacrifice along the journey to get the best out of yourself as a footballer. And I remember Pritter used to always say it's not a sacrifice if you want to be the best footballer you can be. It's just a decision you have to make. So I don't really like calling it a sacrifice, but there's things I haven't been able to do quite often with the kids that I've had to not do because I'm trying to get the best out of my body and me as a footballer. So looking forward to being able to do all the things that non-athletes can do and not worry about pinging a calf down the oval with my little fella, and if it happens, it happens, and just get on with life as usual.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm interested in your, both your roles as leaders. You've been, from my perspective, marvels. But Luke, when did it first come on the radar for you?
I reckon when you first get to a footy club, there's a bit of an evolution. I know Bung talks about it as well, but you just want to be able to play games as a young fella and live out your dream. And then I think when you mature a little bit, you start to really care about the greater club and the fan base and the direction the club's heading. So I think when I was probably 22 or 23, I started to think about how can I be the best leader I can be to help the place. And you're never going to nail it straight away, and I don't think you ever end up a perfect leader. So there's still plenty I can work on even now. But probably in my early 20s, I started to think about what can I do outside of myself to help others and help the footy club. And luckily for me, I had great guys to lean on, some wonderful leaders I got to play with and be mentored by, and I think that held me in good stead. And enjoyed the ride growing into a leader. And it's funny having kids. A lot of your leadership lessons you learn in football, you can actually relate to fatherhood as well. So they sort of went hand in hand. And enjoyed the ride, and always tried to enjoy helping blokes and helping the footy club.
How would you best describe your leadership style?
You'd probably have to ask my teammates, but I suppose one thing I always wanted to do was be there for my teammates when they needed me, and whether that was on field, in game, around the club during the week if they're down on form or they need advice, or whether guys were going through things in life from a personal point of view, tragedy. We've had a few guys over the years, lose family members, unfortunately, and I think I always just wanted to be there as a shoulder to lean on. And if they needed me for anything else, try and make sure I'm available.
So what about you, Bunga? When did it first come on the radar for you?
I think similar to what Luke spoke about is you're just trying to find your way as a young fella in AFL first up. Then you understand the experiences and influence you can have on the team because you're trying to create a successful team. So I was probably about mid-20s as well, where with a group of players that we had at that stage, where you're just trying to set a good example, help each other out and trying to grow as a team to be able to make decisions out on the field. So again, very fortunate enough to have like Darren Glass, yourself from the first few years about the actions, how you need to be as a player and behave, and probably took some good stuff from that. So it was probably a couple of years before was captain that I took an interest in it.
How would you best describe your leadership style?
Well, it's probably not rant and rave. It's more, I want to say about action as well, is it's just trying to be dependable as a player. That's how I tried to play, be consistent, tried to prepare well. It was more that, but also trying to give the players the belief that they could do it their way and how they'd like to do it, but obviously within a team structure and team system. So I think that was one of the things you try to do and you learn early on, is there's no right one way to do it. You've got to try to learn about the player and the person and just guide them within a way so they can find their way. They then feel empowered. They will then want to be part of the footy club and feel like they can be successful. So I was a bit more behind the scenes trying to help blokes as well.
So the future, Luke, You said you'd like to coach. Why?
I just love footy, cuz. I reckon since I was 3 or 4, playing Auskick and then obviously going into junior footy, all I've ever known is being a part of a footy club. Didn't go too well at school, so that didn't go my way, but being around a footy club and around your mates has just brought me so much enjoyment throughout my life. And my fondest memories of junior footy was playing on a Sunday morning, kick the dew off the grass, and then happy hour at the club that night, hot dog and a can of Fanta. And the essence of that is still translatable to today. Back then it was, I was only 10 or 11, but you get together with your mates at the end of the day and you talk about your footy. And back then we had it in our legs to go out and have a kick on the oval again that night. But and these days, I still love playing and trying to win, and then being able to talk about the great things that happened throughout the day with your teammates afterwards. So being involved in that environment, I still really enjoy, and always got a lot of enjoyment out of trying to help guys, and always found it rewarding when you see the flowers start to blossom with the work you're putting in.
Bunga on the radar at all?
I think it will be. It's a bit like that. I think once you play footy and you really love it, I think it'll be hard to leave. You want to be involved in some capacity. Not sure when, but at some capacity, I think I'd still like to be involved in the game.
So firstly, I would like to ask you, Shannon, will you stay in Perth? And there's often we talk about going back to the farm, and it's vastly different to the life of a footballer, one that you've been living for a long time. What about that lifestyle appeals to you?
Well, I always grew up in the country, back in South Australia in the Barossa Valley, and just like the space and the outdoors, and that was the best thing. Like kicking a footy or cricket or doing whatever outside was wonderful. So I've always enjoyed like the space and just being able to do that. Bit because it's something different to footy, but at the same time you still got to put the effort and see, hopefully get the reward afterwards. So that'll be something I'll look at for sure. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'll still hang around here in Perth, because Perth is such a great state. Similar outdoors, brilliant. Fishing's great, weather's great. So I think I'll hang around here in Perth for a while. But at some stage, towards the back end of my life, go back on the farm.
So your defensive style of playing Bunga, how did you form that in the early years, and who influenced you?
Midfield pressure.
Midfield pressure, yeah. Well, I think when you're younger, you grow up mainly playing through the midfield a little bit when I was younger, and it was only till I was about 17 or 18 first started playing in the back line, and you don't really know how to defend. And even when you come into the AFL, I still think it takes a good 5 or 6 years to get the tools to be efficient at it. Darren Glass was excellent when I first came in. David Wirapunda as well at the start. Like Glassy for his body work and how to use angles. And then obviously Wirra for his offensive rebound. He could run, read the play, great decision maker. But those two players were fantastic for me. But also like Tony McHale, just about the body work and the basics. You just need to do them early, and then you adapt them to yourself. It's just, you see so many one-on-ones throughout your career, and the ball coming at you that you can sometimes read the play a little bit and you can predict, but you need to be able to do that from doing the basics well. So they were the three main blokes that really helped me get some good defensive craft.
You've both been in the game a really long time and seen it change over that time. What for both of you how have you seen the changes?
Well, I think for me, I think the preparation for a game and then the recovery from a game is changed a lot. Mainly the recovery. I mean, I think we always prepared well early days with how you train, weights, but it's more the recovery. I think that's been the biggest thing, like ice bins, the diet, your hydration. That's been the biggest thing that's changed, looking after your body. I think it always used to be just train hard, and you probably didn't refuel it. So that's the thing that's changed over the journey. Sports science has been good and bad in both ways. But I reckon that's the thing. You just need to look after your body and keep trying to adapt to it.
What do you think, mate?
Mate, I think the game now is probably harder than it's ever been in my time to be a really good player. Like, it's some of the kids coming in now are phenomenal and quick and athletic, and I think the little things in football now aren't the little things. You need to be able to do them so well, and I still look around the competition and the best players just do the simple things better than anyone. And I think that's always held players in good stead if you can do that. But from a performance point of view, it's a hard game with the amount of coaches we have analysing now, and the amount of camera angles and scouting that goes on. There's not a lot teams can get away with now. Everyone knows how everyone plays, and if you've got a strength as a player, teams can be really quick to take it away. So, and I think from a physical point of view, as Bung said, it's getting harder and harder to back up each week. It's a taxing game. Young guys, as I said, come in now. They're just so quick, and probably the reason we're going out the door this year. But it's still the best game in the world.
I get once a young kid arrives at a footy club, each person's path is different. For you, particularly your first year, you had a broken leg, hernia and osteitis pubis, and had some real adversity to overcome. What did you learn from that time, going through it, early on from the get-go, and then as time went on, you go on to become a leader? I'd imagine the role or the influence that you'd have on players like a Chesser who comes to the club and goes through his first year where he doesn't play a game. I'm sure there's plenty that he could take from seeing your journey and what you were able to overcome in terms of getting through it himself.
Yeah, I think the biggest silver lining is you realise that if you want to play a long career, there's going to be ups and downs. So you can want to be in the system for 3 years, and it might be a good 3 years, but then you're out of here. But if you want a long career and you want to enjoy it and you want to have some success, there's going to be some tough times as well. So understanding early in my career that resilience was going to be important was probably a really good lesson, and I probably didn't think that deeply at the time about it, but subconsciously I probably built enough resilience to help me get through football. I think losing my sister, obviously a big event in my life, probably put football in perspective for the rest of my football journey. So, I'd get injured or I'd play a bad game, and I think deep down you're thinking that's not that bad, life could be worse. And so I look at the kids coming now, and my biggest advice to them is, if you're going through a tough time, picture yourself 15 years from now, having put in the hard work and having a really successful career, and that you're going to look back and there's going to be down times. You've got to pride yourself on that. You've got to grit your teeth and get through it. And you always grow and become a better person coming out the other side.
Fantastic attitude, mate. Shannon, you're the game's record holder. For a long time it used to be that Eagles couldn't reach the magical 300, whether it was travel or whatever, but you put that to bed. What do you put down your durability to?
Well, I think along the way you still need a little bit of luck and everything, but I reckon you still need to be able to get some pre-seasons into you so you can get your fitness, your body can get hardened to the demands of the game. And then from there, just making sure you can recover and look after your body as well as you can. And you've got to do that in your own different way. But I still think, for me, I was never really a lightning quick bloke or, didn't massive endurance. So I think that helped for me as well. And again, I just think you just need to keep adapting to the game. Changes every couple of years, probably even more now. So early on in your career, if you can get the basics right, as a defender, play one-on-one, play a zone, be able to play on taller, small blokes. I think that can keep you going along because you've got some footy craft. So it'd be those main few areas of looking after yourself as well as you can, getting some training in, and keep trying to grow with the game.
Yeah, Bunga, you were at the footy club in 2006. We were lucky enough to win a flag. What was that experience like for you? Was it something that had an influence on you going forward?
Yeah, it certainly did. I reckon previous to be at Central Districts Footy Club for 2 years before that, and they won 2 premierships, and then coming to West Coast, year before grand final, and then 2006 winning it was just awesome. So you understand that's what you play footy for, but you also understand the hard work that has to go into that. A couple of years after that, we were more down towards the bottom of the ladder, so it just makes you appreciate how well you need to do things, how well you need to train, and also how well you need to work together. So that's what I got from the 2006 premiership. Just yes, we had some great talent, but the way blokes trained was awesome.
The 2018 flag. Luke, you won the Norm Smith medal. The stats, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but were quite amazing. 34 possessions, a goal, 8 tackles, 9 clearances. It's a big day, mate.
Had a bit of luck, cuz, that day, yeah. You need a lot of luck on grand final day. I think across the board we had so many guys that nailed their role that day. One guy that goes untalked about a lot of the time, Mark Hutchings, had a tagging job on Steel Sidebottom, who had given us a hiding in the first final, kept him to maybe 10 touches. I think that epitomised the attitude towards just executing your role on the day. And the big fella had preached all year that if everyone individually just worried about getting their own backyard right and did that and tried to help others, would be okay. And it all come together on the most important day for us.
Yeah, it really did. I think it's every player's dream is to play well in big games or grand finals, which you're able to do. What would be your advice to somebody that was preparing for the biggest game of their life?
Look, personally, I'd like to think I'd treated every game with equal importance, because your performance is always important. Obviously, outcomes are going to be different from games, but I think one thing I always tried to do going into big games or big finals, if I was finding myself getting nervous or anxious about my performance, I always tried to remind myself that as a kid, playing in the backyard, you always dreamt of doing it on the big stage. And if you could do that and go out and just give maximum effort and have no regrets about what you did, you're going to make mistakes and play poorly here and there. But if you can just leave it all out in the park and just give it your best shot and go to bed at night content knowing that, then I think that takes away the anxiety factor, and it just allows you to enjoy the moment a little bit more and embrace what's going on, and in turn I think helps you perform better. So tried to always keep it simple, and I've played with a lot of guys who have played well in big games and seen the way they prepare, and I always looked on at Coxie and Pritter. Didn't get to play with yourself. Bung was always great in the clinches, and always wanted to be someone I always wanted to be someone my teammates could rely on the way I relied on these guys.
It's been a really tough couple of years for the footy club and yourself too, you guys. What would you like to see happen now in your absence with the playing group and the guys that are still left?
Yeah, well, I think with teams when they transition and it talks about rebuilding and that stuff, I just think it gives opportunity to the younger guys to form something together. We were fortunate enough to be able to do that for a little bit through a couple of, eras. But I reckon the younger blokes we've got coming through want to get better and want to be successful and want to win. So that's the first attitude. That's the first tick for having a good attitude. But they also want to learn and get better. So I think for them doing that, be a couple more years, but they'll keep working harder. They'll get the opportunities, and they'll get it wrong, but more often than not they'll get it right, and that's part of being a younger player. So they'll get that. Coaches have been teaching them the right way, so those couple of things will help, but it'll just take a bit of time.
Yeah, I still think we've got plenty of guys here who can pave the way for these young boys. Oscar, Liam Duggan, Tommy Barras, Gov's still hanging around for a few more years, so there's still guys here that the young fellas can really lean on. So I think as some old boys leave the game, the next generation of leaders come through and they sort of steer the culture in their own way. So looking forward to seeing which way that heads, and what legacy some of these young guys are going to leave on the footy club. There's a lot of hunger there from a few of them. The drive to succeed and be as good as they can, as quick as they can, is there, and I'm spewing I'm not going to be able to enjoy the glory days with Elijah Hewitt and Ruben. They're going to be good players to watch, but I'll do exactly that. I'll enjoy watching them.
They are exciting players. There's a lot to like about those young guys, with their whole career still ahead of them. It's an exciting time for a lot of guys at the footy club that have still got their whole careers ahead of them.
Yeah, it is, and it's rejuvenating. I think it quite often helps extend your career. If your body allows it, being around these young boys and the bounce and energy they have, and their love for the game, and the purity in which they see football. They're not polluted with the negativity and all the media and people trying to bring them down just yet. So they just love the game for what it is, and being around that the last couple of years has been really fun.
Nick Nat, this week has bowed out too. He arrived at the footy club in the 2008 draft, the same one you did. Quite remarkable that you'd play your whole careers together and finish up at the same time. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, we always joked, me and Nick, that I always said I'd pack his bags one day, and he always joked he'd pack mine. So it turns out we're packing our own and walking out the door at the same time. But me and Bung were talking off camera. He was taking pick 2 in that draft to West Coast, and I was pick 18. And I said any midfielder that had have gone pick 18 in that draft would have been counting their lucky stars. And fortunately for me, it was me, because just spend my career roving to him and working alongside him has been a luxury, and I've had great players around me for all my career that have made me better than I should have ever been. But he's been one I've really enjoyed working with, and his humility and seeing what he does for the community and other people has been just as special.
It's a unique relationship that on-ballers strike up with a ruckman, but one of your greatest strengths has been getting the footy out of the middle and on the fly with your pace, and then I guess Nick's ability to tap the ball is quite unique. It's been quite a remarkable relationship that you guys have formed on field.
Yeah, look, I think it's a one-way relationship. He does most of the work, and as you know, roving to Coxie for a lot of your career, you're quick to buy the big boys a coffee on Monday and stay in their good books. So he's been phenomenal, mate. To see the things he does. I still think some of the things he does in game go underrated by the public and the media, because he does things that they don't see, and some of the things he's talking about when we get to a centre bounce or a stoppage is just remarkable that he sees it as a ruckman. So look, I know he wasn't a part of our 2018 premiership, but he was as big a part as anyone at the footy club. He'd been here since 2009 and picked us up off the canvas in 2011, and his relationship with Coxie, he learnt so much off him, and just a wonderful servant for the club.
Yeah, well, he wasn't part of the 22 that particular day, but he really was part of it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly was. You need you spoke about a whole squad, but there's probably 30 players that probably play throughout the whole year. So him, Shep, Andrew Gaff got spoken about a lot, but that can provide opportunities for others. But we were just so fortunate enough through that period to have just great players. If someone gets injured, someone could come in if someone's not playing. So that worked out really well. But he was a great player, like a brilliant teammate to play with, wanted to win. But then what he could do for players off the field and also the fans in the club, he's been great for the game.
I did think that, with the footy that both you guys have been able to play this year, particularly when you've been out there, you really have still played at a high standard. I did think that at least one of you may have played on again.
Which one?
Well, I didn't. It wasn't about at least one. I just thought, knowing the influence that you guys have had on the group, that just maybe the importance that may have been for the group going forward in the development of other guys. But it must be nice to be able to finish up having played the quality of footy and going out really on top.
It's as you always want to be able to contribute and be able to play reasonable style of footy. So, yes, it's been poor 2.5 years as a team, which has been really disappointing. So you're always trying to set a standard and still contribute and help players where you can on the field, and that's what we've always tried to do. So, as I said, there always comes a time when your body doesn't quite allow you to do what you used to be able to do, but you need to still make sure you can be a good, valued team player. So it is nice to still be able to contribute really well, but it'd certainly be better if we're winning a lot more games.
Yeah, no, you've both done well. Bungie, for me, your retirement is a little bit more significant for me because you're the last Eagle that I played with, the last one to sort of hang them up. So it'll be a slightly different, take on the side from my perspective. But it has been a pleasure to play with you, mate. So I'm not sure if you're aware for that the significance for me, but it's been really nice to still have guys like yourself still playing on the weekends for me to be able to, have a different sort of affinity or relationship with guys that are playing in the side.
Yeah, it's great. That's what footy can give players, is that sort of relationships and interest in the game. You love playing with icons of the club and the sport. So, that was that 2006, 18 years ago. It's a while ago. Well, hopefully we'll have a few younger players as well that we can follow for another 15, 16 years as well.
I have heard you speak about it in the past, but the relationship you have with Justin Langer, and I think, being a mentor to you. Can you talk about what you've learnt from him, and now that you find yourself in the position that you're in, you're probably more than in a position to actually play a similar role to other guys coming through and potential leaders at the footy club?
Yeah, I think it was a mentorship program back in 2010, 2011 that we had at the footy club, and I was fortunate enough to be paired with Justin Langer. So it grew from there. We all understand what he did as a cricketer, and then coaching WA in Australia. So it was just great to be able to bounce a couple of different ideas off of, learn how another sport does it. But the thing took from Justin was just the sacrifice, the dedication, and the hard work that it takes to be a good player. And he always tried to pass that on to everyone. But that's how he played his sport. He coached as well. So he was brilliant for me.
Oh, boys, I really admire the way you've gone about it, both of you. I think the contribution that you've made to this footy club and the game, the broader game, rivals anyone that's played at this footy club. Enjoy your retirement. It's very much well deserved. Congratulations on everything you've achieved, and good luck for the future, gentlemen.
Join you, cuz.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.